Hello and welcome back to the Air Armoury. I'm JRH and today I'm looking at the Gamo Delta Fox air rifle. Now this may seem like deja vu to subscribers to the Air Armoury who think you've seen this gun before, but you haven't. I have previously made a video on the Gamo Delta Fox Whisper, which is actually a slightly different gun. I'll put a link to the video on that in the description below, and I would encourage you to watch it, as for reasons it will become clear later on, you'll see that the information in that video is also very relevant to this gun as well. Now in that video I said that I'd seen the Delta Fox Whisper referred to by a number of other names, including without the whisper part, but what I didn't realise at the time was that the Delta Fox and the Delta Fox Whisper are actually slightly different models. In many ways the two guns are identical, but there are a handful of crucial differences which are largely due to the fact that the standard Delta Fox predates Gamo's Whisper technology, and therefore the Delta Fox Whisper, which was introduced in 2012. Now I don't have the exact dates of manufacture for the standard Delta Fox, but from the serial number I can tell that this particular one was manufactured in 2007. Now I'm not going to make the exact same video on the 3/4 or so of this gun that's the same as the Whisper, as all of that information is in the other video. So what I'm going to do instead in this video is compare the differences between the Delta Fox and the Delta Fox Whisper, and that will include some testing of the accuracy and power. Now unfortunately I no longer own the Whisper, so I can't show it in this video alongside the standard Delta Fox, but I guess that's even more reason to watch the other video on that gun. So let's start with a couple of basic stats. The Delta Fox is 37 inches or 94 centimeters long, which is a couple of inches shorter than the Whisper. Now I think in that video I also said the Whisper was 37 inches long, but I think I actually used the wrong figures for that. I'm pretty sure the standard version is slightly shorter. And in terms of weight, the Delta Fox comes in at 4.3 pounds or just under 2 kilograms, which is slightly lighter than the Whisper, which weighs 4.63 pounds or 2.1 kilograms. So overall the Delta Fox is a very slightly smaller gun, and that predominantly relates to the barrel, as that's where the majority of the differences between the guns are found. So first of all, let's remind ourselves of what Gamo's Whisper technology is. Now I have here a 2014 Gamo catalogue which explains a bit about the Whisper here, and that says the Whisper technology from Gamo consists of a rifled barrel with a fluted polymer jacket and integrated with a sound moderator in the muzzle. The sound moderator compresses noise and prevents sound expansion by up to 52% when compared to an ordinary muzzle report. And there's also a cross-section picture of the integrated moderator. The Delta Fox and Delta Fox Whisper both have a 16-inch or 40.6 centimeter rifled barrel, and both have a fluted polymer barrel jacket. But the Whisper flares out at the end of the muzzle, as it has a small suppressor or moderator built in, and it's that moderator which gives the Whisper the extra length and weight, as well as the name of course. Now the other big difference, or at least the other big visible difference between the two guns, is the sights, as they definitely got an upgrade on the Whisper. And given that the sights are moulded into the polymer barrel jacket, I had originally thought that all they did with the Whisper was just replace the barrel assembly, but I did actually find there is another change which I'll show you in a minute. So the front sight on the Delta Fox is just a chunky plastic blade which is moulded onto the barrel jacket. The Whisper, however, had a nice red fibre optic front sight with a metal protective hood, and on that gun the front sight is removable, which probably helps to avoid it interfering with the scope, as the front sight is actually raised up because it's mounted on top of the moderator. The rear sight is almost identical in that they both have the same basic sight unit, except the Whisper version had green fibre optic elements added either side of the notch, whereas this one just has a standard open sight. Now the fibre optic sights on the Whisper are in my opinion far superior to these on the standard Delta Fox. The rear sight, although improved as fibre optic, isn't too bad, but it's quite a small notch at the back which doesn't really match the great big chunky front sight, and because of that the sight picture isn't great. With regard to markings, they're almost identical on both guns. The only difference is that on the top of the main cylinder here, where it has the Gamo logo and says Gamo Delta Fox, on the Whisper it literally just says Whisper added in on the line underneath. And these markings are only on very lightly with like an electro pencil or something. They're not stamped or engraved or anything, so I suspect they use the exact same cylinder or compression chamber on both guns. They've just added Whisper to the later versions. Whilst I'm on the subject of markings, just a couple of other things to quickly point out. On the side of the barrel, the serial number ends in 07, which is what tells me this is a 2007 made gun. And then on the other side it says patented twice, exactly the same as on the Whisper, and that confirms my suspicion that I mentioned in my video on the Whisper, that those patents weren't related to Gamo's Whisper technology. Now the only other obvious difference between the Delta Fox and the Delta Fox Whisper that I can find is the trigger unit. So to look at that, I'm first going to remove the stock. The trigger unit on the Delta Fox is better than the one on the Whisper. Now although the Gamo guns are made in Spain, this is actually a stock Chinese made trigger unit which can be found on a number of guns made by Gamo, SMK and Crossman. Now it's all steel, the majority of which is stamped, but it is a lot sturdier than the half cast alloy, half plastic unit on the Whisper. Now I should state though that the two guns I've owned are the only examples of the Delta Fox range I've seen, so I can't say with 100% certainty that that change in trigger unit happened at the point it changed from Delta Fox to Delta Fox Whisper. There may have been some crossover, as it may be that the change happened at another point, so there could be some Delta Foxes with the new style trigger unit or some Whispers with the older style trigger unit. I'm now going to test the accuracy and power of the Delta Fox and then compare the results to those from the Delta Fox Whisper video. So first of all, accuracy. I'm going to fire 10 of these 8.1 grain Bisley practice pellets at one of these 14cm square targets at a range of around 12 meters, and they are the same pellets at the same distance as in the Whisper video. Here I have my target. Now 8 of the pellets are in a sub-inch group. It's about 2 centimeters with just a couple of outliers. The accuracy isn't too bad at all from this kind of gun. And then comparing that to my target from the Whisper test in that other video, the Whisper has a couple more strays and the overall grouping is bigger. However, that particular gun did have some issues, which you'll see from the power comparison in a minute, which probably affected the accuracy. I suspect that both guns, new out of the box, would have similar accuracy. I'm now going to test the power by putting another 10 of those Bisley practice pellets over the chronograph. Here I have my chronograph test sheet. Now over the 10 shots I got an average velocity of 503.73 feet per second with a spread of 16.7 feet per second, the highest being 509.1 feet per second and the lowest being 492.4 feet per second. And using that average velocity with those 8.1 grain pellets, it gives me a power of 4.56 foot-pounds. Now, whilst that isn't a massive amount of power, it's not significantly less than it would have had when it was new. As if you look at the side of the gun, you'll see a small F in a pentagon, and that is a marking for the German market, which indicates as a power or muzzle energy of less than 7.5 joules, which works out as 5.56 foot-pounds, which means it can legally be owned in Germany without a permit. Now, the Whisper had a power of just 1.13 foot-pounds, which is obviously not great, but as I said, that particular example did have a few issues, and I have no reason to doubt that a new gun out of the box wouldn't achieve the stated power of up to around 5.5 foot-pounds. So there you've seen the Gamo Delta Fox air rifle and learned about how it compares to the Delta Fox Whisper. Now, in summing up for this rifle, especially with how it compares to the Whisper version, I think there are two things to address. Firstly, is there any benefit to the Whisper part of it? And second of all, which one is better, or at least which do I prefer? Now, as well as my video on the Delta Fox Whisper air rifle itself, I've also made a video testing Gamo's Whisper technology. And in that video, using the Whisper rifle, I recorded the volume from various parts of the gun, and then completely removed the barrel jacket and integrated moderator, and then took some more recordings. And in doing so, I found that the Whisper part actually makes very little difference, if any at all, especially as a lot of the, or most of the noise from these guns is coming from the internal mechanism rather than the muzzle report. And if you're interested, I'll put a link to that video in the description below as well. In terms of which one I'd prefer, there are good and bad points about both, and I think they would perform similarly when new with regard to power and accuracy. The standard version, I'd say, is a better trigger unit and probably feels a little less gimmicky, but I prefer the look of the Whisper, and the sights are far better. Overall, I'd say that the Whisper is probably the slightly better gun, but in all honesty, I wouldn't really choose either, and both of these guns have come to me through circumstance rather than desire. If you are interested in getting yourself one of these, they're similarly priced second hand at around £40 or so, but if you want to buy new, you can now only get the Whisper. So thanks for watching, hope you've enjoyed the video and found it interesting, and if so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe to the Air Armoury, and until next time, keep your arms in the air.